The PMDB video series, established 2010. Every year, there's been at least two PMDB videos. Well, this is only my second video of the year. I know it's been a long wait for PMDB 1726. Not as long a wait as PMDB 1725 was, but yeah, I don't really make videos much these days, but I thought I'd keep the November tradition up of uploading a PMDB video every November. This is my 15th November in a row uploading a video online to YouTube. Oh, I thought I'd do some fantasy booking. We are coming up to the 38th annual Survivor Series War Games. What's wrong with just Survivor Series? Anyway. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'm going to do some fantasy wrestling booking. Yeah, I'm going to go back to the year 2002. Before I even had my beloved fleece jacket. I can't even unzip it. It's ancient now. We're gonna go back to that year, 2002 WrestleMania 18, and I am going to rebook that show and install 5 matches if I were booking back in them days. I was 14 at the time watching WrestleMania 18 on Sky Sports 1. It was a down from WrestleMania 17, the greatest WrestleMania of all time, but it did have some moments. Ric Flair, Hogan, what am I saying? Ric Flair, The Undertaker, underrated match. And of course, we had the Icon versus Icon, Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, which instant WrestleMania classic. That is when I believe I first heard the term WrestleMania moment from JR. I think the show could have been a little bit better. So here's the for fun the 5 matches I would have had on the card. Now the main event would involve whom should have been in the main event, The Rock and Hollywood Hulk Hogan. However, I would add Stone Cold Steve Austin to that main event, and I would have him still be heel at this point, still be WWF champion. He'd have not lost to Kurt Angle at Unforgiven. He'd have held on to that title throughout Vengeance, throughout everything. And Hulk Hogan would leave WrestleMania 18 WWF champion in a feel good WrestleMania 18 moment, dropping the leg on The Rock after Austin delivered a stunner to The Rock. Hogan pulls Austin outside, throws him into the steps or something, and drops the big leg on The Rock. Feel good moment at WrestleMania 18. I would also have Shawn Michaels versus Triple H. I would have it exactly the same way as they had their match at SummerSlam 2002. It was perfect. I'd have the quick feel good moment of Shawn Michaels going over, then boom, Triple H with a sledgehammer. I wouldn't change anything about that match, but instead of having it at SummerSlam 2002, I would have Shawn Michaels come back a little bit earlier and place it here at WrestleMania 18. The Undertaker would take on Kurt Angle. This would be, Undertaker would be heel like he was here. I wouldn't change that. I would have him managed by Paul Heyman. And Kurt Angle would get close to beating the 9-0 at this point streak. He would be so close to making the Undertaker tap out, and he would have Paul Heyman outside, he'd banging on the apron saying, "Don't tap out, so close to 10-0, don't do it." And the Undertaker would get out of the ankle lock, and Kurt Angle would be forced into the turnbuckle, and a groggy Kurt Angle would turn into Tombstone nice and quick, but close call for the streak. Undertaker goes over, and after the match, instead of clotheslining Charles Robinson like he did at the real WrestleMania 18, I'd have him clothesline or maybe chokeslam Paul Heyman. This, of course, plants the seeds for what would take place 12 years later as Heyman would get revenge on The Undertaker at WrestleMania. Very well know what happened there. I wouldn't change that either. Now this next match I'm booking for this show, this fantasy show, is I would like to have seen. They've been feuding for years and years and years, but I think it's time Vince Russo went 1-on-1, so to speak, with Jim Cornette. But I would have, I think that if they went 1-on-1 in a wrestling match, it wouldn't be too great because none of them are wrestlers. So I'd have them have representations. In Vince Russo's corner would be Goldberg, with the WCW ties and all that. So Jim Cornette would then have to get someone he believes could beat Goldberg. And he would be working at OVW at the time. So he would bring in Brock Lesnar. I'd have Brock Lesnar debut here right on this show. And Brock Lesnar would go over. Goldberg would get overconfident and Brock Lesnar would win with an F5. Just the one F5. Not doing all that multiple finishes in my wrestling realm. None of that happens here. Maybe now and again you would get the odd kick out the tombstone or the stunner, but usually when a finisher happens in PMDB's wrestling world, that's the match over. And in an ideal fantasy, I would have Vince Russo. Brock Lesnar would then, he would grab Vince Russo, and Jim Cornette would be a way to attack Vince Russo, but boom, here comes Goldberg back to life, spears Brock Lesnar out of the ring. Brock Lesnar's, walking up the rampway after that. He may have won a battle, but he might lose the war here. And then Goldberg would grab Jim Cornette, but even being a fantasy, I don't think this would happen because I don't think there's enough money in the world for Jim Cornette to take a bump from a Vince Russo spear. So as much as I'd like to have booked that, even in a fantasy, I just don't think in any multiverse that would happen. It's just, even for this fantasy fun booking here, I don't think it would ever happen. So that's what I'd liked to happen, and it'd be like, Jim, we're giving you X amount of money, just take a bump for Vince Russo. But I don't think Jim would. So you wouldn't get the shenanigans after the match, but you'd get Brock Lesnar going over clean here, and instant star right away. In the final match I'd book, I'm just booking 5 matches. I'd leave the other matches to somebody else in the creative. I'm not sure who was on the team at the time. Anyway, so the final match would be where Chris Jericho fits in. He'd be in the opening match tonight, not the main event. He was in my humble opinion, mid-carder at best. My opinion, my humble opinion. And he'd be placed in the opening match here against Ric Flair. It'd be a fun, fast-paced opening match with lots of dramatics going on from both men. Ric Flair getting a win via tap out. So that's my fun little rebooking fantasy. I've never done a fantasy booking of WrestleMania or any wrestling event before, but for fun and to keep the tradition of PMDB videos going in November, I thought we'd give a wee WrestleMania 18 a dream booking by Paul Michael David Bain. Don't take it too seriously, folks. Anyway, this will probably be my final video of 2024. Charlotte, he's not here at the moment, my mascot, my chum, but I was going to ask him, shall we continue this video series for our 16th year in a row next year? The 15th anniversary in April. We shall see. We shall see. Never say never.